Well, I've been doing audio and games for about 20 to 25 years. I had always been a musician, so I'd always been in and around recording studios. And at a certain point, I decided it was time to change things up. So I went back to school, took a course in computer assisted sound design, and then still took a bunch of time before I got my foot in the door. But I finally got a job as the sound designer composer on a GBA game, which was, funny enough, Bratz, a girls dancing game. So I got to do all the music for that, and it was a great start, and I learned quite a bit, and I spent about 5 years at that company before they went under, and that turned out to be a blessing in disguise, because then I got hired by Eidos Montreal, and I've spent the last 15 years enjoying my time there and putting out some quality titles while at Eidos Montreal. So, what equipment do we use in the studio? Well, we basically use a lot of digital audio workstation software. So we use Nuendo quite a bit at work, and the audio engine we basically use is Wise. So I would really recommend people download Wise and work with Wise, because it's free. You can grab it, you can learn it, you can work with it. It's an amazing tool, and it's pretty much I would say one of the standards in the industry now. And I would add to that, if you want to work with Unreal and Wise, they merge together perfectly, and that'll give you even more of a head start. But those are two softwares I would definitely recommend. So what is involved in my job, and what is my role in the game and the company? So I'm the audio director. Basically, my job is I start very early in the conception and preconception, and I start mapping out what the audio design will be in correlation with what the creative core is doing. So they'll be saying, we're making this type of game. So I'll break that down and go, okay, and then I'll pitch my ideas to the creative director, and I'll say, I want to, based on the information you've given me, I think we should come in with, an orchestral score type, or I think we should come in with something more guitar driven or synth driven. But I will start by sort of establishing what the musical direction will be. And then from there, based on that direction, once I get an approval and a sign off, I then have to start shopping for the composer who will be the right fit to work with me over the next 3 to 4 years and deliver that musical direction. I then also have to work with our internal audio team and make sure they understand the direction and what I want the final sound of the game to be. So basically, it's working with the internal audio team to make sure that the audio is aligned with the direction I want it to go, and the quality is obviously there. And from the music side, working with the composer to make sure that all the game's music needs are being supported, and then to drive that right to the end of the project and to take it to the mix phase, where we now mix all these elements and make sure that everything sounds as clear, and the things that need to be prominent are prominent, the things that aren't. Everything's sitting in its right place, and it's pretty much the last step before we close it up and put it out to the consumer. So yeah, a lot of responsibilities, but great fun job. So the hardest part of the job is that um, things, because audio is at the end of the production chain, things change and continue to change and move for a long time sometimes before they get locked down and you can actually put your final stamp on it. Um, so yeah, you have to be very open and very flexible to the fact that things are going to sort of continue to float for quite a while, probably longer than you or I would be comfortable with. But in the scheme of production, you have to be flexible and you have to adapt. And a lot of times these latenesses are actually because we've found ways to either address problems or to make something better, but it's usually for a positive outcome. So at the end of the day, it's just about staying flexible and keeping an eye on what's coming in hot, and what we will have more time to work on. So the advice I would give for anybody starting out today is Obviously, as I've already stated, try and learn industry standards. So when you come in, you're already prepared. So stuff like Wise, stuff like maybe Unreal, and working with those two things. Um, the other thing I would say is definitely in your portfolio, grab either off of YouTube games or films that kind of inspire you, and rip out the audio and redo it, whether it's music, whether it's sound design and Foley and all that, but redo the scene, and maybe do it a bit differently or something. But this will show people a bit of your creative side. It'll show how you integrate audio into a scene. How well do you understand the scene? Um, if it's like a really soft and romantic and intimate scene, and all of a sudden you're bringing in these huge loud Foleys and that, like, that's a red flag. So that's the really best way to convince somebody, is to show them your work. And when you see a video or something where somebody's done a great sound pass, as the guy who's hiring, that definitely fires me up to say, let's talk to this person. As far as now the industry, where we're seeing a lot more crossover between people musically moving into the game space, because of course there's more people making games, so there's more needs for music in that. You just have to know that it's a very tough gig. If you want to be doing music for games, it's a lot of hustling. You have to be out there. You basically have to be your own company. You have to be the composer. You have to be the guy who does all the books and the money and the taxes. You have to be the salesman going out and hustling gigs. So it's not for the faint of heart. It's a lot of work, and but it's very rewarding work. So, what I would say is, personally, my advice would be, if you know in your heart that you want to score and that's all you want to do, well, then go all in. The other thing I would say is, try and work your way up. Like, don't just say, I'm going to be a composer and I expect to score the next Star Wars film. Maybe start by doing a Star Wars game, and a small game, and you know what I mean? And like, just work your way up. Don't expect to take a ladder that takes you to the top level. I think there's a great value in taking your time and learning everything there is at each stage, learning the rules, learning how to break them. And so I would just say, also try and be a one-man army. Be the guy who can pretty much do almost anything. If somebody says, I need, a little piece of music scored, hey, I can do it. I need a sound design pass on this, hey, I can do it. I need the VO treated and cut and trimmed and edited and cleaned. It's not a fun job, I can do it. So, people in the industry love those type of people who can come in and just get stuff done. So try and be one of those guys. That's going to make you invaluable to any company or anybody you work with, where they will say, hey, go see whoever, Joe or Mary. They can sort you out, and they can basically, whatever you need, they'll take care of you. And that's the guy or the girl you want to be. So, in my opinion, what makes for a compelling video game score, and why people want to revisit it, is you basically need to, from my experience, I would say, identify a few moments in the game that you think you can really showcase the music in, and pick a few of those moments. And what happens is then people walk away and they sort of remember the music married to these pivotal scenes that are very memorable to them. So, I don't know, like, we could say, like, every time Darth Vader walks in and you have the Vader Death March, like, that's a great theme that they married to Darth Vader. And now everybody knows that theme, or Jaws, when you see the fin and the shot of the water and you hear that theme, like, right away, it evokes the terror of, like, what's under the water. So these type of things create very memorable moments in people's brains, and they definitely grab the visuals with the sound. So having an iconic score, like even something like, going back to Psycho, and that scene where they rip open the shower and he's stabbing, and you have the strings and the we, like, that's a classic moment, right? And you remember the audio as well as you remember the visuals. So just look for those moments that are going to allow you to do something that connects with the listener. And yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, trust yourself, trust your heart, trust what feels right to you, and have the confidence to kind of stand by it. I mean, it's not easy to walk into a room and say, I know you're all expecting this, but I want to do this. And sometimes that's right. And you just need to be able to sell it to people. So, um, like I said, watch movies, listen to music. Uh, you know, if something is getting a lot of press, analyze why, what makes it work, what you think you could have done differently. At the end of the day, your brain and your creativity is your own limitations. So, you know, don't put any limitations on yourself. And yeah, have fun. That's the most important thing, is to enjoy what you're doing. If you love what you're doing, that'll translate into the product and people will feel it. It sounds weird, but it totally makes sense. When you put your love and heart into something, the person on the other end definitely senses it. So best of luck and have fun.